I love that macaroni salad. It's got mountains of sugar in it and everything. Me too. And you notice it's the only thing gone off my plate. All right, are we ready? Erin, are you ready? Oh, Catherine, I'm sorry, I didn't know you weren't here.
Oh. Traffic sucked.
What's new?
Right?
We'll give Catherine a few minutes to get settled. All right. We'll give you time. We're not in any hurry. We have an hour and a half.
Oh. What did he say?
Permitted uses, and it's usually Erin?
Yeah.
Do you want to explain to Seth the uses of Conservation Trust?
The revenue that we get from Conservation Trust, where do we spend?
The Conservation Trust Fund, that is lottery proceeds.
Yeah, but where would that get applied?
Oh, it gets applied to Culture and Rec, so it's a direct transfer over to that fund.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
supplements.
open. I didn't want to answer. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll give one more minute.
So you can have your seat.
Welcome to the Woodland Park City Council Budget Work Session this evening, and I'm going to immediately turn this over to Erin.
All right, thank you, council, for coming in a little early tonight so we can have some fun with our budget work session. We did get the budget delivered to you all on Friday, so you haven't had that much time to review it, but we are going to go through it in detail tonight. We're going to do our normal process. We're going to look at every single change that we've made in the budget. We're going to look year over year at where we ended last year, where we think we're going next year, and it should be a lot of fun. We have most of our department directors here. Kip's going to be here in a little bit. He's coming back from a soccer game, so he'll be here soon to go through his pages because I don't think Kimberly and I want to do that at the detail level that he can do. So we'll try if we have to, but otherwise he'll be here. Oh goodness, I'll have to be really long-winded at first. Okay, let's jump into it. All right, so at our work session we had on the 18th, we went through and identified all the projects and program priorities that we were hoping to have in this budget for 2026 and then ongoing into the future. And so we looked at capital improvement planning, we looked at landscape and beautification, we looked at staff supplies, tools and equipment, which we've been doing a really good job the last few years of getting a lot of that updated. Street repairs and improvements, that's always an ongoing battle, and we have quite a few projects that we've done this year that we're looking at for next year as well. Legislative involvement, we did work with the lobbyists this year, and I think it was a huge learning curve and a lot of work on the council members that were involved in that process, but I do think it brings an awareness to the city that we wouldn't have otherwise, so I think that's money well spent, and it's not very much. Then we have, of course, our debt fund balance reserve of the 2 months of operating expenditures, which is about 17%. Economic development, what we've been doing with Main Street, what we're looking to do at the Visitor Center, what we're working with the DDA. I think we put a lot of focus on that and they've been doing a phenomenal job in that area. Public safety, that's always a top priority for the city. And I think our police department does an amazing job there. Housing and zoning, transportation and utilities. Of course, water is usually one of the favorite topics amongst the city, and then well-managed city budget and finances. So those are kind of the top program priorities that we looked at to make sure they were included in this budget and that they were executed. So as we look at the budget message itself, and this presentation does go along with the budget book. So as if you wanted to go in the budget book, you could look through and see it goes through the executive summary and then it goes into the department pages. So we'll start with the executive summary and then we'll go into all those individual changes that we have there. So under capital improvement planning, we did set aside a large fund balance reserve for capital in there with $2.75 million for capital reserve set aside for Meadowwood projects. And now as we're looking at the golf course, we may look to see what we can move over there as opposed to Meadowwood itself, but we are looking to do the same improvements, just possibly looking at where they make the most sense. But we are setting aside that reserve there so that we can do those improvements. Under staff supplies, tools and equipments, we continue to make sure that we have the right equipment for the folks out there. So we do have 3 vehicle requests in this budget, 2 for public works, which are snowplow trucks, and 1 for utilities, which is a 3/4 ton diesel truck replacement that they need out there for water. We also made many small additions in 24 and 25, and a lot of that's carried into 26 for public works, facilities and grounds, department budgets, to bolster funding for a lot of our miscellaneous tools and equipment that they need on a daily basis. In 2022, we started this process and there was a lot of things that were not up to par with what we'd like to see. And so I think at this point, we're pretty much at a maintenance level. We didn't see many increases as we did in the past years, but we still made a few little minor increases for tools there. All right, under competitive staff compensation, every year we look at what makes sense for increases for both COLA, which is our cost of living increases. That for this year, we budgeted at 141,000, which is to do a 2.1% increase effective January 2026. Our first, we go through this many times, we still always find 1 or 2 little errors in there. 2.1% effective January 2026. This is the exact amount that CPIU was as of July. Because of the federal shutdown, we don't have an update for September. I do think it might have gone up a tiny bit, but I think that 2.1% makes sense for the year. And then we are looking to do a compensation study, which we've actually already started. Amy's been working hard at that. I think we've identified a company that's going to make a lot of sense for us. And we're looking at maybe February or March being able to finish that. And so it'll probably be April, May before we actually roll that out and make sense of it so that we can roll it out effectively there. But we are looking for a $250,000 set aside for market adjustments based on that compensation study. That would be the max. It doesn't mean that we would have to use all of it, but that's what would be set aside in there for us to roll that out once that's done. And generally, in past years, we've always done the merit increase in January and the COLA in July. But this year, because we won't have the comp study done until at least probably May or June at the earliest, we did the COLA at the beginning of the year. So that's the rationale there. All right, when we look at the end of 2025, our general fund's unrestricted fund balance reserve was projected to end the year at 20.99%. And that was including that capital reserve that we talked about earlier, the 2.75 million. So we did have some savings even after the purchase inclusion of Berkshire Park for 695,000. So we had quite a bit of salary savings. A lot of it was our city engineer position was vacant. We had the finance director position, which we converted to the accounting director, vacant for several months. We had a number of vacancies in the PD and our streets department. So we did get a lot of those filled towards the end of the year, but we had a lot of vacancies at the beginning. So we had a lot of savings there, and that's what's allowed us to save even after buying that Bergstrom Park parcel and be at 20.99%. And then when we look into 2026, after everything has been programmed, we're looking at a general fund unrestricted fund balance of 17.2%, right above that 17, at 2,297,000. And that's what we're looking at to end 2026 based on our budget projections. Any questions on any of that so far?
Does that include us, or how does that affect the mill levy? Are you programmed the mill levy as it would revert back to the 16.249? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So if the council makes the decision to do something different with that, then we'll make some adjustments to the budget to accommodate that with keeping the 17%. Any other questions on that before we go on? All right. So when we look at 2025 revenue year-end projections, We're looking to be under budget, and the budget's a little bit confusing this year because of the 1.09% being mid-year. So when we're looking at the numbers, it's 3.2 million that was in there, and then we are not going to have that in revenues and expenditures. So it's a little bit tricky when we're looking at the numbers. So we're under budget in revenues by $2.7 million, expecting to end the year at 12,679,000. Revenues were up slightly when you take the sales tax out of the number. So we were up about $80,000 in revenue total if you take that out. There's not really a clean way for me to do that in here because it was mid-year. So I just want to make that very clear because it is confusing when we're looking at both of the year and projection numbers. And when we're looking at 26 versus 25, it gets a little bit muddied there. So when we're looking at 2026 revenue numbers, we're projecting 13,077,000 for 26, which is an 18% decrease for 25. But what makes that up? We have a 2% increase in sales tax, which was about 139,000. I think I have it in the summary, but not on the slide. So we are expecting revenues to be up year over year for just the city's revenue stream. Does that make sense? Do you all have questions about that? Does that make sense? Okay. All right, and then when we look at expenditures, same deal. So expenditures for the general fund are projected to be $3,227,000 under budget. 2.8 million of that 3.2 was from the 1.09 tax. Okay, and then personnel cost, as I said before, they were down 1.2 million, which was 15.8%. That's the biggest that I've seen it be since I've been with the city. So we did have quite a few vacancies there. And like I said, it was a city engineer, the accounting director. There was several positions in PD in our streets department. I think we had one in facility. So it just kind of was a mix across the city there. KIPS funds didn't seem to have any savings. He was fully staffed. But general fund was having a tough time this past year, down a little bit. All right, so now when we look at 2026, we're looking at a decrease of 2,666,000, which was 16.6. And again, that is the 1.09 tax. And then in 2026, we expect our total expenditures to be about 13,361,000. And you can see there from 24, we had 15.2, it had gone up to 16, and then now it's going to be down to 13.361. All right. So additions we had to the 2026 budget, that's it for our estimates there for 25 and then what we're looking at for 26. So now we're going to go into some of the adjustments that we've made in the budget and what kind of differences we're looking at. So cost of living adjustments, as I said, we're going to be about 2.1% for COLA, which will be January 2026. And then health insurance costs did increase by 5.5%, which is the best year that I've seen us have. Normally they're 8, 10, 12. Gosh, sometimes they're really awful. But the city is going to be able to absorb in the budget the way it's configured. The city will absorb 100% of that cost increase. So the employees will not have to burden any of that. And then compensation adjustments, the 250,000 that we talked about for the compensation study rollout will be for salary increases and adjustments there. All right, then capital projects, we have those 2 replacement vehicles for public works, which is a total of $500,000. And that's going to be used to replace 2 of our snowplow trucks in the streets department. We've gone through different periods in our streets department where we have a ton of CDL drivers. We don't have CDL drivers. We're back to a really good place right now with our training program where we have many CDL drivers. So the bigger the trucks we have, the faster they're able to do the road. So if we can do these snowplow truck replacements, it would be a big help to that department and to the city overall. And then that 1 replacement vehicle in utilities is $60,000 to replace a Chevy 1500 diesel truck in the utilities department. And then we've done a very comprehensive review of our roofs here at the city throughout all of our different buildings. We have quite a bit of needs. City Hall is in very bad shape. Our police department has needs. Our cultural center has needs. Our aquatic center, I think, is already starting to need. The golf course will need. There are many needs for the roof replacement. So we're looking to start off on a multi-year program here of replacing the roofs, $199,100 for replacing 2 of our 4 roofs here at the City Hall. We're not looking to do long-term roof replacement, so we're looking to do about 10 years roof replacement here. And that's correct, Rob? I didn't. Okay.
I just want to make sure I heard that's only for 2 of our roofs on this building.
2 out of the 4, yes. And it's the 2 that need it the most that have been causing most of our leaks.
Yeah.
You know, it's the 2 largest. But there is one that's still pretty expensive that's left. It is quite a bit of money when we look over a long
Yeah.
period of time at what's gonna need to be done here.
Are we structuring the roofs differently? Not flat anymore, or?
Unfortunately, if we wanted to go with a different longer term roof for a 20 or 30-year roof and change the structure, it does increase the cost.
Oh, sure.
Almost 3 or 4 times.
It's just those flat roofs.
Yeah. I don't know that this building can make it, you know, another 20 or 30 years, so we're gonna have to really look at what makes sense there.
Yeah,
You know. That's the rationale for the 10-year roof. All right, when we look at the DDA fund, the DDA has been up to a lot of really exciting things this past year, and they're looking to do a lot of exciting things for this next year. So when we look at the DDA funds, TIF revenue, we're looking at 1,116,000 projected in our revenue for the DDA. 175,000 is budgeted for TIF reimbursements. And the DDA's total expenditures are looking at 727,000. We're expecting to have the fund balance end at 1.8 million for next year. We do anticipate, oh wait, does this not have? We'll go into all the detail for the DDA at another little bit later. Ahead of myself there. Okay, so that's what we're looking at for the DDA fund balance. This slide here is for Park and Recreation. This shows us a 5-year snapshot of, or is this 6 years? 1, 2, a 6-year snapshot here of Park and Rec and how the programs have been doing over time for Park and Rec, Cultural Center, and our Aquatic Center. And you can see there we have expenditures and revenue for each of the different departments, how they've been trending over time. I know the Aquatic Center, they had a difficult season with losing our heater and having one of the pools cold. It really hurt our revenue numbers, but we weren't really able to have much staff saving there because we still had to have the pool open. And we were having customers, we just weren't having the boom that we would like to have in our biggest months. And then the Cultural Center also last year and this year, we did have construction going on there, which I think affected our ability to make reservations and just know for sure when the facility was going to be reopened.
One thing that jumps off the page of me is the expenditures for the Aquatic Center in 2021 were 530K. The projected budget in 5 years is essentially double. Is that inflation, or is there some other reason why
When
the
we look at
the expenditures are escalating?
When we look at 2021, we were still in that COVID period and the pool really wasn't open at full capacity. or even-
Gotcha, okay.
It's even half capacity, fair to say. We're, yes, and
So that explains the jump from 530 to 727. Okay.
it does. And when we really look at it, in 2023 is when we start to see the state significantly increase the minimum wage. And most of our Aquatic Center part-timers are minimum wage employees. And so it really, when I think they did a 12% increase in 23, and so that really jumped our part-time expenditures for the part-timers. And then it's just continued to grow on us in that way. Cindy also explained to me that Brady's first year was 2022. So 2023 was also the first year we actually had
Okay.
year anniversaries in the Aquatic Center.
Gotcha.
And so obviously we are working very hard to get this cost recovery to I think 55% is really our goal.
Okay.
This year was a little bit lower, but we are planning and expecting that we will be over 50% going forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
And that's just for the Aquatic Center.
That the Aquatic Center is that bottom one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then do you have goals for cultural and Parks and Rec?
We absolutely do. I mean, we've been the Cultural Center, if we look back at previous years, they were really working towards like a 95% cost recovery rate. This past year and a half, it has been down a little bit. I think for those reasons, the construction, I
Mhm.
think we were down 3 months last year, 3 months this year.
Yeah,
But I think the reservations themselves, I think when the place was shut down, we weren't getting the reservations booked up, especially because they didn't know for sure what we would actually have to offer in terms of those new amenities. So, I mean, I think the place looks great now, so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to book that up.
so if it's 55 for the Aquatic Center, what is it for the Cultural Center? What's
We'd
your-
like to get as close to 100 as
Yeah,
possible.
there's a total cost recovery. And then Parks and Rec?
Parks and Rec, in my view, and I would love to hear your feedback, but I see that as a complete amenity. So
Mm.
if we need to spend more to make that an amenity to the community, then I would be supportive of that, and that's been my view on it. But if I receive different direction from council, then we can go that direction.
My perspective on Parks and Recreations has been and will always be that should lose us money all the time.
Oh, I mean, it's definitely gonna lose this. It's just how much.
But,
Yeah.
but the point being, the benefits to the community far outweigh any gaps in between expenditures and revenues. At least that's how I've always felt, so.
Yeah, so we do, I mean, I do believe that as well, and reading a number of studies, I mean, the nicer the park and rec usually is in a community, it's a reflection of how everything else is going, so there's a ton of return on investment there. Right. Any other questions on that one? Okay. All right, lodging tax fund, 2025, our year-end projected revenue was 235. We're gonna keep it flat for 2026, looking at 235 as well. That does have a fund balance left of about $500,000, so we are going to look to just keep doing the expenditure budget the same as it has been as we spend that down. So we're looking for a $321,000 transfer, which was the same as we did the last 2 years in that fund.
I'm
Uh,
sorry, Aaron, what did you say the fund balance was? Oh, I can look it up if you didn't have the number quick. Sorry.
Yeah, it's in.
So
Oh.
lodging tax for 2025 year end, we're looking at 513,000. And then with that additional expenditure next year over the budget, over our revenues, it'll be 415,000.
Thank you.
I had another question for you, Aaron, on the, in the budget book, under transfers in revenue, there's a line item for grant fund. And it doesn't have anything, and I just, I know with Main Street, those are tiny. But I was wondering if we were going after any bigger grants for Parks and Rec or the open space or whatever.
Absolutely. You want to jump in on that one?
Yes, we will plan on going for grants. We are hopeful that most of those grants will be state grants, which is why they are not included in the budget book. We only include federal
Oh.
because that it changes how we have to report stuff. But it is definitely our plan to go after several grants for Bergstrom, Meadowood, golf course, whatever we can and need to, water.
Water.
Yeah, reservoir.
So
So-
when we had the grants fund set up, we were required to have a separate fund set up for salaries. So any grant that we had that had salary requirements, we had to have that set up in that fund. And we don't have the two grants that we previously had for that. We also had the ARPA funding, which also was required to be in there as a federal grant. So that's all of the state grants, they go into the general fund under a revenue line within the general fund budget.
Okay.
So we are hopeful to get quite a few grants, but it just won't be in that line item.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're doing.
Right. Streets fund. I see I was too fast. All right. So streets, we are looking at quite a few. Oh, see, I was right. I was actually almost right on time. I'm take a break. No, so I think I could speak on this. I don't think it'll be a problem. All right. So street improvements. We are looking to do quite a few projects more in 2026 than we did in 2025. We were very lucky with some low bids that came in, so we were able to do 2 extra roads. Hopefully that'll happen again for next year. But the 2 big projects that we're looking to do for next year are Fairview Street and then also Paradise of Colorado. And that's quite a bit. That's 2.25 million to do those 2 streets. We're looking to do full depth on Fairview, and then Paradise. We've had 2 different contractors go out there and give us a hard look at what they think that's going to be like to take all those pavers up and then to put asphalt in. So we're not calling it full depth, but it's going to be kind of a mixture of what it needs, curb and gutter, some new cross pan. So we don't have a full design for that. They're going to go out there and do the work. It's a little bit of a different project than our normal street projects because it's not asphalt.
All right.
But so that's the plan for that. Those are the quotes that we've received so far. So those are ready to work come 2026. And then we do have the design for the cemetery. We've been going through the plating process out there and just having the survey work done. It's a very old area that has, not the greatest record, so we've been working hard on that piece so that we can actually do that work. Hopefully in 2026, if not in 2027. I know people have been patiently waiting for that to happen, and they're getting less patient every day. So we're hoping to be able to do that expansion and start selling some lots again there. Okay, for street repairs, we are putting $1 million in here to do some speed humps, which is not our favorite thing, some
No.
asphalt patches, and then street repairs.
Where are we doing
water.
speed humps? Yeah, I thought, boy, that's like such a
Yeah.
negative thing.
There's maybe like, I think Kip told me there's maybe 2 or 3 of them.
Mm.
That just, we've had some traffic studies done and that's what they're looking at. But he can correct me on that.
Yeah,
If those are not the exact numbers.
So Aaron, do you know approximately, or Rob, do you know approximately how many miles of streets we have at this point?
Oh gosh, we have it in here. It's 60.
Hmm.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Just make note of that because, you think about being in your neighborhood and there's potholes there and there's things that need addressed. But as the city as a whole has a significant amount of miles of roads that require that attention all the time. So it's not that the city's not giving their attention to where those challenges are. It's just there's a lot of roads to look
Yeah.
at and keep track of. So
Well,
not
and-
excuses, just data.
Right, and the other data to that is that they were all basically paved within a 4-year period, so they're
Yes.
all failing at the same time.
Yes.
So.
We paved the streets in 94, 95 and
96,
96.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is we were working off of a 2017 pavement management master plan that
Mhm.
was done. We just had a new one redone this year
Mhm.
in partnership with El Paso County. So we will be, I think some of the roads that we had done when we did the study again, it was like, whoa, some of these roads are failing a lot faster than they were a few years ago. So we are going to have to look at the priorities there and make sure that we're hitting the right roads and doing some of that maintenance work, doing the street concrete repair and doing some of these other street repairs we have in here, I think will help with that. The new asphalt truck will help that you allowed us to purchase this year. We just got it, I think, like 3 or 4 weeks ago, so we haven't even been able to really use it. So that's gonna be huge come next year when we're able to be fully staffed and then have that. So
mhm.
that's what we're looking at there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, and I like the point about the total roads or streets that we have and that we have to address. How many miles are we taking care of in 2026? Do you know?
I don't know that
Okay.
information. Yeah.
It would just
So
be
we-
interesting to,
We have a total of over 60 miles, right? 60
Yeah.
some
I
odd
think
miles.
2.9, but I don't know
Okay,
that.
somewhere in
very
the
specific.
neighborhood. Maybe.
He might, I don't know.
He's got lots of numbers upstairs.
Pull it
So-
out.
So to let Kip take a break, did we miss a slide on the
Yeah.
Conservation Trust?
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we did, yes.
Sorry.
In 2026, that fund will continue unchanged. It's still $75,000 in revenue that we receive, and that 75 goes straight from that fund directly into the Culture and Rec Fund as a reimbursement.
Welcome, Kip. No, don't worry about it.
Oh,
Oh,
all right, Kim, we are on slide 16, which I think is the on your packet, and we're just starting streets.
oh,
So I already shared that we're gonna be looking at doing Fairview Street and then Paradise, Colorado. Talking about this cemetery a little bit, and then we've gone into street concrete repairs.
Well, streets, they're black, they're hard.
do you remember how many miles we have?
Lane miles, I wanna say it's like 120-ish.
what he's
So
talking.
you take that in
lane
half.
So that's.
So take that in half as the.
Take it in half and that's center line, yeah.
Yeah.
So right around there.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
A
Only reason
lot
I-
of miles.
There is, yeah, for this little town.
Yeah.
So, okay, let me get my streets page here. So street repairs, we had in concrete repairs and restriping, I'll just start at the bottom, I apologize. The last couple of years, we have not restriped, it's usually around $80,000 a year, but we increased that this year. to the 125. We're having a hard time finding someone to do the work. It's not that we haven't budgeted for it. We have. It's just been hard to find someone that'll do it. Sam, our project manager, has been creative, and he's going to try to loop that in with maybe the chip seal contractor that we're going to try to use, because a lot of those guys do that same work. Street concrete repairs, that is like various stuff around town that's broken. Curb and gutters, ADA ramps, smaller stuff. We don't have obviously any concrete streets. It's just kind of the meeting the bounds that hold the asphalt together. Those things.
So on Evergreen Heights, just curiosity here, parts of the curb and gutter have massive chunks of concrete that are missing. What causes that? Is it snowplows catching edges and ripping them out, or is it some other factor?
Well, a snowplow will do that. Sometimes it's just a bad product that maybe is a weak spot and it's
Okay.
broken over time.
Okay.
Typically what we see from repairs are low spots where water accumulates in the winter and freezes and starts breaking it.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Any questions with this slide?
We did have questions about how many speed humps we were putting in.
Zero.
Where?
Oh,
Okay.
good.
So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of requests for speed bumps. We try to let the chief handle most of those complaints. It's a behavior thing. People are still gonna speed with the speed humps. Usually when we install those, we get more complaints of squeaky brakes and then people accelerating. We don't stick those in unless a traffic study is done.
Can you talk about what is planned for that,
For which one?
the street repairs?
That is basically on call. So, this will be, like for water main, repairs. Any roads, like for example, Center Street, that was so bad. Things like that we can kind of put out to bid, that have kind of gotten away from us and aren't necessarily part of the pavement management plan. So we are following the pavement management plan, for Fairview for next year, but it's other things that come up. And we'll bring those to you on a contract by contract basis.
Gotcha.
Stormwater fund, there's not a lot that happens in this fund. It doesn't generate any money.
We're
It's,
still charging residential fee at $2. That's
$2.
been since before 1997.
so,
So
still,
I think it's the same as it was when the stormwater fee was implemented
Mhm.
by ordinance.
And it's unchanged from the previous year on this one.
yep, still the same. We probably need to take a look at it, but, there's a lot going on with inflation and other things, and we don't wanna
Yeah,
do
sure.
too much to our residents. Wastewater fund. Pretty steady fund. Not a lot changes here. The last big increase we saw was in 2017, 2018, when we expanded the wastewater treatment plant. Right now, I will say this fund is, I don't like to use the word idle, but I will for trying to catch up with my brain here. But this year, it's basically maintenance. The plant's, it was expanded in 2018, fairly new. We were seeing just general maintenance in the wastewater fund, changing of UV bulbs, some pumps, some things with the old portion of the plant come up, but nothing crazy. So I can answer any kind of detail, but you can see here expenditures for 2026 are projected a little bit higher just for general maintenance on the plant. So we're doing skate upgrades on some things. We just recently replaced the HVAC system that was original to the plant in 92. So, next slide. This is, says wastewater, but we're on water. Oh. So, well, I don't know why. Let's see, so that first sentence, basically, what the last slide just said, and then moving into, the water fund. So, let's see, I want to do the narrative first, yeah. Water fund revenues, slightly higher. I think I budgeted a 2.5% increase in rates. That is effective every April. So that's why you see a little higher revenue. Tap sales, I'm saying are gonna return to lower amounts. Last year we had budgeted around 30. This year, or for 2026, I'm budgeting 15. Year to date, we're at 8. To kind of put that in perspective, a lot of the new subdivisions haven't come, the builders haven't come to construct like they did in previous years. So we're seeing a downtick in tap sales. I could probably, I think the average tap sale over the last 11 years, or the average number of taps in the last 11 years. I got it for you, just give me 1 second.
And it does make sense. You all did see 2 extensions just come before you in the last couple months, so it's, the project just haven't been being built as fast as they were.
I mean, we don't have a ton of buildable lots, I'll say. Stone Ridge is pretty much built out for that last phase. The Havens, so Red Haven and Blue Haven, there's about 20 or so lots in there. I think there's 3 going up right now in that subdivision, and those are just slowly coming on. Those lots are priced a little bit higher. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but there's not a
They're
lot.
the only ones left with a view worth having. I mean, the lot worth having.
Right.
There's some left with a view around, staggered around, but they're so difficult to build on and have issues.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
Haven is really the only thing that has any.
Yeah, some of the other vacant
You-
lots around town are literally a hillside, so
Yeah.
it's pretty challenging. I want to say the average tap sale per year over the last 11 years has gone down. It's right around 25, but 25 to 30, somewhere in there for average tap sales. Water fund, we have lots of improvements in the water fund this year. Carried over some things, the reservoir, so on and so forth. The first couple here, as council's aware, the big $1.6 million Gold Hill tank, that actually came in significantly lower than initial estimates. So, yeah, it was 2.5, and we're getting it for 1.6, and that includes the purchase of the tank that council's already approved. So really, it's more around 600,000 to construct it. So pretty good on that. Yep. Some minor things, Gold Hill pump. So right on 67 in Midland, our Gold Hill pump station, the pumps need to be upgraded there. What we're finding in recent developments, those pumps are just having a hard time keeping up with demand. So we just need to upsize those. So we have that in here. Backwash pump, very simple. That's what backwashes the filters when they've extended their run times. Very critical piece of equipment to backwash those filters, make sure we can still treat water and get it into the distribution system. Meter replacements, that's been going on forever. I'm happy to say we're getting very close. I don't want to jinx it, but I think this year might be our last year with those. It's basically most of the old meter pits, which are very delicate. The service lines that are connecting into those on both sides, the city side and the property owner side, are not fun to touch. They like to spring leaks on you. So we've been just taking our time, slowly doing those. So that project hopefully will be wrapping up. Equipment for the plant and other things, filter rehab in there. That is to take the filters out of service and resurface those. They are original to the 97 plant. They need a little bit of TLC. And then reservoir monitoring, so that every week we go up to our reservoir to physically have to look at the meter, and we're trying to get some technology up there to be able to see that through SCADA. There's no electricity up there, so it's tough, and in the winter it's kind of dangerous. Suzanne, the safety committee, have purchased some safety equipment. Just traversing the side slopes gets a little challenging, and that's critical information for our augmentation. So we're looking at trying to upgrade that. And then a vehicle as well. Water system engineering at the bottom there for the reservoir. Very excited that that 2.1 million is for the 2 access points for the reservoir. So currently we are around 60% designed. As soon as we get to 65% designed, those plans will be submitted, I'm hoping the end of the month, to El Paso County to get the permits to go into construction, hopefully as soon as we have 100% design, but they'll look at the design at 65%. So very excited about that. And we want to do that at the same time the reservoir's in design, the dam itself. So when it's done, we have access to it to construct it. So it is rolling the dice a little bit in regards to what the cost of the reservoir or what it's gonna take to build that dam. But at this point, we're all in at this piece of property and we're moving forward. So,
Congratulations.
thank you.
It's been a long road.
It has. Very long.
All right. Now moving into personnel in the executive summary, the 2026 budget proposes 3 additional positions. One of these is an actual add, 2 of these are a conversion from contract work that we have. So we are looking for a utility superintendent that will oversee our water and wastewater plants at a higher level. Someone that will work directly under KIP, that will also do augmentation planning and some of that other water analysis that we aren't currently able to do and get to. So that position in the budget is 122,500. And then in the general fund, we have 2 maintenance workers that we're asking for to be custodians. Right now, we have a custodial contract that's about $96,000, and we're asking to transition that to 2 custodian workers. Any questions on those?
As far as with our current custodial contract, is there a certain number of hours that were allotted per week under that? Do we think we're gonna get some additional value gain under, from bringing them on staff?
Absolutely. Yes. The first question you asked, the answer is yes. We do have a contract set up with them that they have to do each site within, they have to do it several times a week, depending on which locations they are. So they do all the bathrooms in the parks, they do City Hall, they do the police department. I think we've just added last year the cultural center, if I'm correct. Yes. So all of those locations would now be handled by the custodians in-house, and also they'll be able to do additional work. So they'll have much more capacity than the amount of hours we had in that contract. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so this is an overall view of the staffing within the city and all of our personnel allocations. And this shows you all the changes that we have from department to department. So we do have those 3 changes you can see on the far right-hand column there. And those 2 allocations that we have additional would be in operations and technology, and which is where our facilities department falls. So you'd see 2 additional in the general fund there. And then in our non-general funds, we're looking for 1 additional position there, which is split 65% in water and 35% in wastewater, which is how we do all of those allocations for those positions, for administration and for our field services workers. So we are looking, we had 104 employees last year. We're looking at 107 for this year, not including the many, many part-timers that we have. Oh, I did want to add, we did not include the golf course in these numbers because we haven't fully built that out yet. We did build the budget for it, which we'll go into in a little bit, but I did not include them in the personnel counts yet because I didn't want it to distort what we actually changed from
Yeah,
our general existing operations, if that makes sense.
How many are out there right now?
Currently,
Yeah.
they currently have 3 full-time employees, and then they have about 20 to 25 seasonals, depending.
Okay.
And that's during the summer. That's not, they don't have that in the off season. Any more questions on this one? Okay, no additional debt service. You wanna add something? Oh, are these, oh, okay. Yes, 2 more updates for the book before it actually goes out final. So no new debt is proposed for the general fund. Next year, we have the Woodland Aquatic Center, which is 490,000 principal for next year and 214,000 interest, so $705,000 total debt payment. for
Now-
next year.
We are expecting debt service though eventually for the reservoir, correct?
Correct, in the water fund.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
thank
and
you.
we will, that is in the 5-year plan.
Right.
In the out years, but it's not this one.
Perfect.
All right, so this is an overall look at all of our funds. For the most part, it doesn't have the non-major funds, so lodging tax is not included in this one, neither is the conservation trust fund, but this is all of our other major funds that we have here. You can see for 26, which is the 4th column over, our proposed budget for 26 is 32,271,000. Our total increase for the budget is 6.4%, which is 1.7 more than last year. If you break down each fund, the general fund, as I went through at the beginning, is going to be 16.6% lower than it was last year. because of the 1.09 there. So that's 2,666,000 less than it was the year before. The DDA is looking at 1,092,000, which is a 92% increase over the budget. However, we did do a supplemental from the original adopted budget to account for those micro grants. So it's actually only up, I think it was 40%. And that was, we're going to go into the detail on that in a little bit. Culture and Rec is up 60%. The majority of that is the golf course, but there is a little bit of an increase in each of those line items that I just showed you on the Culture and Rec summary. Streets projects, we are going to do a lot more street projects this year than we did the year before. So 5.2 million this year versus 2.8 last year, which is a $2.3 million increase for 84%. Stormwater, as we said, is 0%. Wastewater, like Kip said, is pretty much flat there other than some rate increases. And then the water fund is up 5.5%, 374,000. And the reason we do have a ton of capital scheduled for water, but we had a ton scheduled for last year as well. Those projects, they take a long time, so a lot of that rolls over year to year. Any questions on this one? Okay, then we have a few graphical representations here of the information that I just showed you. So general fund revenues, we're looking at 13,077,000. You can see there taxes, of course, they generally make up about 80% of a general government's business, and we're no exception there. That's our sales tax and property tax, use tax. And then we have operating transfers. That's the money that wastewater and water pay the general fund for our administrative services. And then we also have a streets transfer and that stormwater transfer that comes in. Investment earnings were pretty good this past year, making up 2% for about 195,000 in the general fund. License and permits, we have intergovernmental, which is some of those grants and HUTF revenues. And then fines and forfeitures, very little, and charges for services is also quite small. So that's the makeup of how our money comes in. Taxes are usually going to be about 80% for any government. All right.
Back in the day, all funds were 13 million.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Big change.
I'm sure. All right, for general fund expenditures, we're looking at 13,361,000. The breakdown on this, it's a little more evenly distributed. The police department is always our biggest one at 3,698,000. Then we have our general administration, which is the city manager's office, the city clerk, the finance department, our IT department. So there's quite a bit in there. That's at 2,327,000. Then we have our interdepartmental at 1,317,000, and that includes like all of our insurances, all of our workers' comp, property casualties in there. The custodial contract was in there before. We cut quite a few big items in that one. Then we have our parks building and ground at 1,542,000, and that makes up quite a few of our departments. Fleet that has that's all of them in there. Then we have our street operations at 885,000. We have fleet maintenance is its own 593,000 there, and we have planning and building at 680,000, court at 153, and then the rest are a little bit smaller. But that's our general budget for the general fund. Any questions on that one? Okay. All right, then we go to all funds. So all of our fund revenues, we're looking at 25,609,000 for this next year. General fund makes up 13 million of that, which is 51%. Then we have our water and wastewater, which are very, very close. They each make about a little over 3 million apiece. 12% of the budget for each of those. Culture and Rec is 10%. Streets is 13 at 3,388,000. And then stormwater and lodging tax and conservation are both all smaller ones. All right, and then all fund expenditures. The reason this one's a lot bigger than the revenue is because we have fund balance in water, wastewater, and streets, and we spend that on capital improvements. So that's where that difference comes in. And you can see water is 7 million, streets is 5,200,000. So like that's where the difference comes in and why that budget is bigger. But our overall for the entire city is 31,585,000. And again, this doesn't include some of our smaller funds. It does have conservation trust, but I think DDA is not in this one, and DDA is the only one in this one. Yeah. And so I think our actual total is 31,990,000 when you add in everything, but This is the total here. 42% comes from the general fund, and then 23% for water, 16% for streets, 9% for wastewater, 8% for culture and rec.
And Aaron, with the spending of fund balance, we can say that we have a balanced budget, correct?
Absolutely, yes. So
Thank you.
we do not expend past what we actually have available to spend. It doesn't necessarily mean that we have revenues that year to cover it.
Right, thank you.
All right, so that's the overview. That goes through the executive summary. Now I'm gonna turn over to Kimberly. She's gonna go through budget by budget, what actually changed, what additions did we ask for in there. It's okay.
All right. Thank you, council, for being here. So for city council, there are no budget adjustments for the 2026 budget. This will be pretty quick because we really don't have a whole lot of changes across the board, but I will go into each one separately. Next slide. For city manager, we have asked for the city manager budget, we have asked for $1,000 for our new education reimbursement program. And that is for staff who are going back to school to help them out with the costs of those classes. And there is a program based around that they do have to remain with the city employed after they have received these funds. It's a really great program that we're helping to offer.
And it's 1,000 per semester, or it's twice a year, I forget.
Twice a year,
Twice a year.
and it's on the level. If you're receiving associate's, bachelor's, or master's degree, the reimbursement changes, but they can apply for it twice a year.
Amy is amazing at looking for new benefits we can offer to the employees, so thank you for that.
And there is $30,000 included for the election. That is a reoccurring every other year expense, but because it does come off the budget one year, we do ask for it again for each time it does come back. For municipal court, there are no budget requests for 2026.
And the reason we do it this way, I know it's a little painstaking, but this way you have the presentation. If you want to go back and look at the budget later, this just will show you what changes remain on each page.
There are no additions requested for finance for 2026. We already went over these prior, but just to reiterate, for operations and technology, we do have the 199,100 for the city hall roofs, those two repair and replacements of the roofs, and the $100,000 for the two facility maintenance workers for custodial services.
Oh, what is the, excuse me, what's the contract for custodial services? How much are we?
96,000.
Okay,
However, with cost increases, I think we're actually paying more than that.
overtime and,
Yeah, I think we're actually paying more than that amount of money, and which is what was like, hey, wait a minute, we need to take a close look at this. And we've been talking about this for about 6 months.
yeah.
It's definitely something we want to move towards.
Right. For the departmental, as Aaron mentioned earlier, we are doing a comp study. And we have asked for $250,000 in the salary line to accommodate market adjustments. Upon completion, that should be, as he mentioned, May timeframe, we should have that really solidified and know how that would affect salaries. We may not use all of those funds, but we have asked for $250,000 to accommodate those adjustments as needed.
And the comp study was already paid for, correct? That does not come out of the 250.
It's in process, correct.
Okay.
That is correct. It'll be paid out of this year's budget.
Okay.
For police, there's actually a typo on this, and I'll get to that the second one, but the top is the body worn camera and cloud storage. That has been in the budget each year because that's a mandated cost increase each year. So it's not a new line item, but it is an increase in what was there before because it's a mandated increase each year. So it's $21,200.
I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt. Is that just in like a contractual increase in the service, or are we paying for more storage, or where does all that?
he just was here. He just left. It is
Behind me.
contractual. So it's contractual. It's every year it's mandated of what we have to have in order to be required by law in case they have to revert or go back to that.
And that's with Axon?
Correct.
He may
Okay.
have increased he may have changed something on it, but I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
We'll get him after.
And then that laptop should actually be 23,295, not 22,000. Sorry, that was a typo. These are the laptops that are in the vehicles. And IT can attest to the fact that there has been a lot of man hours trying to fix and repair those. They are failing at a high rate. This is going to be over a 5-year period of replacing those. So this is the first year cost of that. So we're hoping to get those for the PD to have reliable laptops in their vehicles.
So this 23,000 is pretty much for 20% of the laptops in
Correct.
the vehicles.
Correct.
Thank you.
And I can attest from working at a sheriff's office, the deputies are very hard on the
Oh.
laptops. I'm sure
Oh, so
officers
it's
just the same.
It's human caused, okay.
Well, they become obsolete over time, obviously,
Sure,
and they don't work
yeah.
as well, but they are tough on them. That's why some of them are tough books, right? That's kind of where they come up with the name, but they're not as, they're usually a little heavier.
Do you want to wait for Chief to ask any questions? Or do you want me to move on?
We'll get him when he comes back.
Okay. Right. For planning and building, there are no budget adjustments requested for 2026. Same for Public Works, there are no budget adjustments. For culture and recreation, there is a dishwasher in the Ute Pass Cultural Center that is as old as the building is. It is taking 3 rounds of staff standing there and washing each load 3 times. It is unfortunately really time to replace that, and included in the rental of our utensils and items is the cleaning of it. So the cost recovery on this will be fairly good, because they will be able to recover the cost of the equipment. But we need to be more efficient, and so we've asked for $10,000 for that dishwasher.
The kitchen at the cultural center, that's an inspected facility, right? So we have to meet certain standards. Is that correct? Okay, thank you, Cindy.
It is making us meet the standards after 3 times.
Chief, there's a question for you. Absolutely.
I had a question about the increase in the Axon body cam storage. Is that just the increased cost of the service, or are we getting additional service, like additional storage or anything from that?
That, if I'm not mistaken, that was adding 2 additional body cams.
Okay.
So it's the difference in adding 2 units.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right,
Not
we're gonna-
cheap.
We're gonna turn it back over to Kip. He's kind of gone over some of this, but he'll go more into detail about some of those items.
Yes. I've went over these. I mean, is there anything in particular you want me to focus on? Some of these I'll just say are, I'm gonna say a placeholder, like engineering, anything that pops up, that we need engineering on, I haven't spent that in the last 2 years. The collection system improvements, that's for emergency repairs. If you guys remember the emergency repair in Highway 24, I think it was a year, 2 years ago now. Things like that, that's what that covers.
The 50K for the sewer cam, didn't we just
Actually,
replace the sewer cam?
We did, yeah, it's supposed to be delivered any day now,
Oh, okay,
so,
alright.
so hopefully the bill comes in time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
What's the?
UV upgrade, that has actually been pretty standard. We've had to replace bulbs and wipers every year, on the Trojan UV system. So that's pretty standard. Boiler upgrade, they're in the middle of swapping those out as we speak as well, so. The rest of this, the loaders, the cost of the loaders has went up significantly. We used to budget $20,000 a year, and we would replace, we have 2 loaders out there, a very large one and a smaller one. They would get replaced every other year, so it was like on a 2-year cycle. The cost of a loader these days is pretty expensive. But now they're charging us $40,000 for one. So we're looking at not continuing that program after this year and just replacing the loader and then keeping it for quite some time. So, any other questions with this slide?
The sewer cam, is that is that the upgraded one we talked about last
So-
year or
Yeah, it's a brand new one, yeah.
brand new? Okay.
Any other questions? For the water fund, see if the water's next, I'm assuming. Yeah. I've talked about most of these already. There is a backhoe. We're trying to replace our backhoe right now. Backhoe was purchased in 2012 or 11-ish in there, so it's due for replacement. And the wastewater fund is actually paying for some of that too. It's split 65-35. Cause that's used for both funds. We talked about the reservoir access road. I do have reservoir engineering in here as well. I will say that placeholder of 500,000 is a guess at this point, cause we've spent so much up to date. That'll just be taking it from, I'm gonna say the 30-40% all the way to 100. So I haven't got a specific number on that. I do have the specifics on the engineer's cost estimate for the road though at 2.1 million.
Just sheer curiosity, what's a clay valve?
So a clay valve it's a valve that controls the passing of water, and it's based off elevations of the tank, so it senses pressures, and when tanks are low, it sends a signal to fill. So, and when it's full, it sends a signal to stop filling.
All right. For the DDA, at their last meeting, they did vote to increase the micro grant program to 200,000, up from 150,000. It was very well received in the community, and they would like to offer additional grants this year. For beautification, $250,000 in that line. And then a $25,000 pedestrian study match for a downtown corridor. We are hoping Main Street and grant funds can assist with that as well. The ending fund balance for the DDA will be 1.8 million.
Do you have any detail on the beautification projection? I see previously it was at 3,500, so it's a significant increase. I just kind of wondering what the plans are.
You want me to review?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, so we've talked about, not only helping with Bergstrom Park, but also, looking at, I hate to use the term studies, but there's ideas of beautification on Quinn and the other alley. Bergstrom, thank you, gosh. And then, this could also include, so this is like an allocation of funds that could go to certain things, right? And the other thing was, flowers for the downtown for businesses. So, yeah, I think
Does that also include the statues perhaps?
No, not for this one.
Okay.
no, yeah.
Darn it.
The
Like those
statues
statues.
the statues are included in there because we had them roll over from previous year.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
Was
did
there
have
anything else?
quite a bit of discussion on that beautification. There's a lot of discussion about greenhouse. There was a lot of discussion about flowers. It was a lively discussion for quite a while at the last meeting, and I think that there's a general consensus they want to do that. That's why they voted to bring this forward, but I don't think they have the exact plan in place yet for what they would like to see.
And there's still some, footwork the city has to do, right? Isn't there not a RFP, but
Correct.
yeah. Oh, it is.
Yeah, the city needs to put out RFPs
Yeah.
for both what the greenhouse would cost. We have gotten quotes, but we would need to see the bids actually come in, and then the bids to do the maintenance and all of the pest control, the growth, all of that.
Well, it's really exciting to see that level of investment from the DDA. I think that's a great
Yeah, I think
partnership.
it's a proper use.
It would help if I changed, right?
It would. Lodging tax, there are no additional requests for the budget in 2026. The ending fund balance for lodging tax is 415,000. We talked about the Conservation Trust, that is from the lottery proceeds, and it's a standard. We've had $75,000 transfer out to Parks and Rec for a couple years now, and we look to continue that. I'm gonna let Kip do streets.
Yeah. No, none of the bottom ones were in the previous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have talked about the first 4 bullets already. Trails maintenance, is the next one for 75,000, Centennial Trail. We redid the portion north of Triple B Road. We seal coated everything, south of that quite some time ago. Cracks are starting to reform. We're looking at doing another surface treatment on that and making sure that trail stays in a good maintainable, structure. Cause it is very, very well loved, around town, so. So that's what that's going for. Parking lot maintenance, $100,000. I don't have any particular parking lot other than the one behind, City Hall. That needs to be resurfaced as well. Those cracks and, things need to be sealed up. We're gonna look at some of the other parking lots as well. And then sidewalk improvements again, this is in addition to some of the other concrete repairs that need to happen. ADA ramps that need to be replaced, those type of things. And then the most important one I'd say is the next one. We have 2 snow plows, scheduled for a replacement. Our capital improvement sheets, you'll see we have 2 snow plows that are, over 25 years old or so. And they are manuals and we're having a tough time finding staff that knows how to drive manuals. So,
The CDL test is not required anymore. It's amazing.
so,
On a snowplow? Wow.
On any CDL.
Oh.
a lot of trucks are just automatic. We have some guys that know how to drive them. It's just few and far between. So, and plus they're due to be replaced. They're very old. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about them getting stolen. Is it-
So,
That's true. We should be.
Anti-theft device.
so right now, one snow plows around 240-ish, depending on what you get on it, and that's to include the sander that comes with it. In the past, we've been pretty proud of multi-use vehicles, but some of these snow plows you could convert into dump trucks. They're just not ideal, so they're going to be a one-use vehicle, unfortunately. But we do have a newer tandem dump truck, so we don't have to use those as much. So it's just going to be moving in that direction with automatics. So I'm very excited about that. So is staff, if this gets approved. And then the last one is just a 3/4 ton diesel pickup replacement. Nothing new, just replacing a 2000, I think it's a 2002 Dodge utility body truck.
It's less than that long?
So
Wow.
it's a manual.
Doesn't get driven.
Drainage improvements for stormwater. I don't even know, we talk about $2,400, but not much there. So,
Continuing,
yep.
we put it in each year.
Typically, this will be like for erosion control, blankets, riprap, things like that.
I had a question for you, Kip. Not in the budget necessarily, but there was a time, and maybe it was Ben at the time, the city engineer was talking about removing all those culverts along, some of those deep ones. Maybe that wasn't discussed beyond that. Okay.
Mhm.
Seemed like he was adding more.
What's
No, I know, the one by Memorial.
Oh, the
Yeah.
deep ditches.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's part of that Park Street
So-
project, is it not?
Ben was working on design for the Park Street and turning that into a one-way
Yeah.
with reverse angle parking. We ran into some issues with boundaries of the right of way, and we've kind of pumped the brakes on that one.
Okay. But those deep ditches, they're not going away anytime soon.
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, when we redo the road, we'll look at it. But
Yes.
It
Yeah.
was a very ambitious thought, and it was a really cool idea, but I don't think it had, when we did the engineering on it, I don't think it really worked.
Mm.
Those are lovingly called car catchers.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so that's it for the 2026 budget piece. The next slides are on 5-year and on capital items.
Yep.
All right, so our 5-year plan, it is recommended by the GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association. It's best practice to look out at least 5 years so that we know what are the changes that we're making this year? What are they going to do to us next year? What are they going to do to us 3 years from now? What are they going to do to us 5 years from now? Obviously, the further we go out, the less predictable that things become. So we try to be very conservative in both our revenues and our expenditure projections so that we don't do anything crazy to make those very difficult to predict into the future. So we try to be very conservative there, but it does give us greater insight into what we actually can accomplish and what we can expect to have for our fund balance ending at after each year, right? And so this 5-year plan looks at 26 through 30. And when we look at our 5-year plan here for the general fund, we have projected revenues and expenditures for each year. We have 2026, which is the revenues projected. Oh, this one still didn't get up to. It's the revenues are actually 13,070,000 and the expenditures are 13,361,000.
Hmm.
Is it right in the packet? Okay. And then when we look out, I think all of these numbers are actually incorrect, unfortunately. Well, anyway, I think 27 is actually 103,000. The next year's 115. It's 71. We had one item in the budget change for revenues that was about 100,000. And I think it changed every single one of these. So when we look out into the future years, you can see that the fund balance gets a little bit better every single year. We always try to keep our ongoing. The reason in the budget we put the changes in the SLARs that you see on those change sheets, we put one time versus ongoing. We never try to have any of the out years have an ongoing cost that would put us into the negative. So generally when we overspend our fund balance, it's because of capital items that are one-time purchases, if that makes sense. So when we look at it these future years, we always try to ensure that we're going to have a positive fund balance increasing as opposed to negative. All right, so when we look at our general fund 5-year revenues, we're expecting general fund revenues this year to be this number's right.
Yeah.
13,077,000. And then next year we're looking at 13,369,000, and it goes up about 2.5 to 3% every single year is how we are increasing there. And I think we have, it's in the budget book. Let me just go to the budget book. In your budget books on page
148. 147,
on
148.
page 146, it has the 5-year plan assumptions showing you what it is that we're using to increase these numbers by. So you can see our growth rate for 2026 was 2%, and then for the out years we have 2.5%. Property tax, we have 6% generally for assessment years, 3% for non-assessment years, and that's going back 10 years. That's about what we receive every single year in terms of an increase. Inflation rate, we're looking at 2.5% for 26, and then 2% for all the outgoing years. Health insurance is 8%. We had a low year this year at 5.5%, but we generally budget 8%. So built into the budget in those numbers, that's what you're seeing is causing the increases there. All right, so when we look at our expenditures for the 5-year, it's going to go right in line with the way the revenues are because of the inflation and cost increases reasons for health insurance, for utilities, and that's what's causing those increases there. So we're looking at 13.3 for 26. And by the time we get to 2030, we're looking at 14,195,000. All right, then we go into all funds. So all funds is going to look a little bit more up and down because it's going to depend on the capital expenditures that we have planned for each year. And generally because water and wastewater, in streets, we generally do the most in that current year as we're rolling things forward. The current year usually is the highest year. Right, so 31,906,000 is what we have for 26. Then we go to 28.7, and then by the time we get to 2030, we're still at about 28.5. And all of the capital expenditures that we have are listed in the CIP plan that we have. It comes right before the 5-year plan in here. Right, and then that's just a graph of what things will look like there. And then the last one is our CIP plan from 26 to 2030. And this is exactly what I was saying is that the current year is usually the highest because we've rolled over a ton of stuff from the previous year. So we're budgeting all that stuff in the current year, but hopefully we'll get it done. Maybe not, and it'll roll forward again. All right, any questions? I think that's our last slide.
So just remind me, the golf course, the FTEs are not in there.
Yes.
Is there any operating expense in there yet?
There is.
Okay. And you've got possibly some capital improvement, but
I apologize in advance, it's gonna be a little harder to read. Okay. All right, so for the golf course next year, I'm gonna start with revenues. So what we did in this budget is we took the existing balance sheet that they had and their net income sheet, right? We looked at both of those for 23 and for 24. And we looked at those and we said, okay, what kind of loss were they operating at? What were their expenditures for each line type? So that's where we came up with our revenue basis and our expenditure basis to put in this budget. They were running last year at about an 80,000, no, I apologize. For 23, they were running at about $65,000 loss. Last year, they were running at about $55,000 loss. So we looked at that and considered that for reasonableness. We looked at their revenues. We looked at what we think we could do in terms of bar sales. We also looked back about 10 years to see how the golf course was doing, and the numbers did look a little bit different. So we did take some liberties in terms of what do we actually think we're going to operate in.
Okay.
So we're looking at the golf course projections of $676,000 for revenues. And this is a mixture of food sales, beverage sales, recreational activity, which is all of those golf course green fees, equipment rentals for the carts. We have merchandise in the pro shop. Again, last year was a low year for merchandise. Some years they've done as much as like 80 to 100,000. Some years they've done as low as 30. It's a little bit up and down there. And I think a lot of that has to do with what kind of golf pros you have in there, what kind of new business you're bringing in. Tournament revenue has been pretty low for the last few years. It was much higher in prior years. So we were very conservative with that one as we start to work on building that base up. And then facility special event rentals also seems quite low when we compare it to the cultural center and some other golf courses we looked at. So we'll hope that it's higher, but this is what we're trying to be conservative in what we're projecting here. Then when we look at expenditures, we did the same exact thing and we looked at building this out the same way. So let's see. All right, so here's the golf course expenditures. We built it out very similar to how we would build out the aquatic center's budget. And we did look at other golf courses and we also looked at their profit and loss statement and their net income. Our total expenditures we're looking at for the golf course was 300. Oh, that's not right. We looked at 749,000, which was, I believe, about $75,000 subsidy that we're looking at for the first year for the golf course. We do hope over time to be able to run, including capital expenditures and other things, at a zero. However, this first year, we definitely wanted to be conservative and expect that we're going to have to rebuild the base and bring the revenues up.
Right. Good. Yeah, thank you.
I'm looking here on the 5-year projection and if I'm reading it right, it seems by 2030, we close that gap significantly, the subsidy.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we do expect the revenues to increase for the golf course a lot more. The expenditures we're hoping to keep pretty consistent. Yeah, we built the budget out assuming we're fully staffed, ready to work, ready to do some equipment replacement, some of that stuff, but not capital improvements that we're going to need for drainage, for some of that stuff. Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, we did this simply so that we can operate. I don't know if we're going to operate the golf course ourselves. I don't know if we're going to outsource it. So this is just so that we can actually get started and move forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff council? Thank you. Thank you, Aaron.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Staff, appreciate it. Want to take a break?
We do. Thank you, everybody.